Weird. Okay.
It's feedback. So our conversation is over here. Conversation this morning is support versus support for the child, right? So I know a lot of times we hear child support, we think payment, but that's not always the case. So
we feedback.
So we want to dive into child support, right?
Yeah.
So Joe's gonna give us the definition.
So the definition of child support here on Google, it says a court-ordered payment typically made by a non-custodial divorced parent to support one's minor child or children.
That's interesting that they said divorced parent. Like that's not always.
No, sometimes they
married.
Sometimes they married first.
Right. Sometimes it was hook up.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is.
Yes.
But then we also was there another show?
No.
Just support in general.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And so I think the keywords are and they it's sad that they have the first word in that definition court order because people right. This is a lot of them. I mean, there's a couple of people in the world that just say, I'm right. So most of the time it has to be ordered because people won't necessarily do it, which is sad. And I think so. What's the thought process behind that? We'll get into that in a few minutes.
So I had looked up supportive child, right? Because I know you were going to do child support. I wanted to look up support of the child because I wanted to give the other spin. Like child support is not always just monetary, right? So supportive child. Giving assistance to, especially financially, or ability to function or act and provide comfort and encouragement to a child, because that's also the spin on child support that we're going to be discussing today. And so I know we were going to talk about, like, typically when you look at the end of child support, you look at the male, right? The man is usually
and I'm glad that you said the male, because usually that's what it's looked at. But in today's society, that's not always true. There's so many different scenarios that are happening nowadays. But I also wanted to say, so like in this definition, it talks about instead of male and female, it says non-custodial.
Right.
Non-custodial. So whichever one is not taking the physical care of the child, but so there's one that's not taking the physical care, and then there's one that is taking the physical care.
Right.
Most of the time, there's one that's less than the other.
Right. So in my research, majority is men.
Yeah.
Majority is men paying child support.
Yeah.
But it's now I didn't discover if on the financial end if it's a majority men, but as well on the financial end it's majority men. But the support of a child, I know we typically think of the mom of the woman
person.
Right. It doesn't have to be the mom, it could be the woman. But why is that? Why is it that in our society, in the American society, it is the woman who is taking care of the child, the support of the child. May not be finance, but
so two things that you can look at that, I think, and one is that we have a maternal instinct anyway, and so we have a tendency. We have to own up to this, but we have the tendency to say our child needs this, our child needs this.
Yeah.
And so we
baby need diapers and all that.
Well, not only that, but we're the ones that want to make sure that that our children are taken care of.
Right.
That are nurtured.
Right.
We're the ones that say, well, they need to be hugged, they need to be played with, they need to be wrapped up in a soft blanket.
Right.
So we kind of look at that physical and emotional need, I think, instinctually better than Ooh, and that's hard to say, but you know, I guess you have to fight against that. But instinctually, we we do that
Right.
instinctually. So sometimes that gets us into trouble.
Yeah.
Because then we're the ones that always say, well, no, I'm not going to let him have my kid
Right.
because he's not going to do this, that, and the other.
Right.
How many times have you heard that?
Oh, man.
Lots of times, you know, so.
Yeah. I think the importance is to ensure the needs of the child are financially met. That also include loving, expenses, toiletries, clothes, shoes, food. It's not just the financial aspect of things. There's other parts of
The
child
nurturing
support.
part.
There's other parts of supporting of the child, because
Going to a basketball game,
right,
talking to them about, you know, a girlfriend, you know, getting their first girlfriend or boyfriend, or
Right.
talking about safety, or even talking about those things that. What happened over
keep
there?
going.
Okay, so you know, just there's so many things that that need to be that go along with it, other than just buying shoes and,
Right.
and clothes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
My brother, and I know he's not going to see this, so I can talk about him.
That's wrong.
I might
At least tell him.
But
at least tell him.
no, because I know for the longest he used to feel like especially with his daughters, right? And he has half and half. He has half boys, half girls, 2 boys, 2 girls, I believe. No, 3 boys. Ooh, he just had another son. That don't count because he just had him 5 years ago. But anyway, he used to think that the girls only wanted him, or only wanted to deal with him for money, you know. And I had to express to him, like, they're teenagers and they want to go to the mall and they want to get their nails done and they want to get their eyelashes and all these things. And that may
so psychologically, why?
That may be how they view love.
Exactly.
That may be what they're feeling
I
like.
push that up in there because that's exactly right.
Yeah, because as some kids, like I know in substitute teaching these last few months, some kids view love as stuff. And what are you going to buy me? What are you going to give me?
And what's the reason behind that?
Because they're not spending time with their parents.
Exactly.
You know,
Because they're not receiving the nurture that they actually need. We all need that.
Right.
And if we don't receive it, then we're going to do something else to try to replace that. It's even like, you know, drugs,
right,
and alcohol.
Right.
You know, someone doesn't say automatically, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to be an alcoholic
when I grow up.
No, the reason why is they're covering something up. And so whenever they're not getting the nurturing and love that they need from a certain parent, usually that ends up being, well, if they won't spend time with me or hug me or make me feel loved, well then, you know, make me feel loved by buying me a car, Dad. Or, you know, I mean, you know,
car. I was gonna say Jordans, but you know what's funny? This is how I know. This is how I know I did a decent job in raising my kids. Right, my kids didn't even know what Jordans were for the longest. Literally. Who were we?
Told them in school.
I don't even remember how they discovered, but like one day I just happened to ask them, like, "Do y'all know what Jordans are?" And they were like, "Yeah, Michael Jordan, the basketball player." And I was like, 5, boy.
Yeah.
Because I didn't teach my kids, or I didn't show my kids that stuff was the meaning of love, stuff or monetary or items, belongings, you know, prized possessions. Like it was just, hey, we have a conversation, or we spend time together. We go camping, we go swimming, etc. Because those are the things. No, I don't want to restart my computer. Snooze. Those are the things that we must get into the mindset of understanding and acknowledging. It's like, no, the things just give. Now, granted, you have the 5 love languages, right? I feel like we talk about that often, but you have gifts as a language of love, you know.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive stuff. It's just, but I do think that comes from, because do you know in the 5 love languages they can actually change. You know that they can actually change.
Absolutely. They can develop.
So in that may sometimes necessarily come from an individual or person that didn't receive that's the way that they actually know it. Just like I'm saying we're saying with the kids, is that that's how they actually know it, is that they feel that through that certain thing. But if they're fulfilled in all those different areas, it might be another area that they decide. Because I would say that just that's the way that they grew up, or that's the way they were developed. That because for instance, I will tell you, and my dad's passed away a long time ago, but I will tell you that my dad was straight old school, old master sergeant. So there was no touchy feely things with him.
There was no. My mama was a master sergeant.
There's just no touchy feely. It was like either this or that. And you know what he did? He took me places. He would take me, man, I could go in. I did get a car. So those are the things that he used to do.
That's how he viewed.
Right. Yeah. But you know what? When I was 16 years old, I forced him to change a little bit, and I would make him, which is, it is crazy the way I made him. I groomed him to tell me that he loved me.
Oh, that's sweet.
Because I knew that he loved me. I knew that he loved me. So I would say, so I get on the phone and be like, Dad, I'm going to blah, 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 blah's house. And he goes, okay, I love you, Dad. And then I would pause. And I wouldn't get off the phone. And he'd be like, okay. I'd be like, I love you, Dad. And so, but it got to a point. I did condition him. Yeah. And it got to a point, still as a therapist early in life. But it got to a point where he said it back to me. But I knew that he loved me. Yeah. He just didn't know how to express it. He did not know how to express it. So anyway, I think all of these things that we're talking about goes back to the reasons why there's so many issues with child support, and the reasons why the courts have to say, this is the way that you have to do it, because you won't do it on your own.
And you know what? That's in my notes. The impact that supporting your child leaves versus financial support, right? Spending time and bonding with a child supersedes monetary. And I'm just being transparent. My oldest, he has a father. I call him the donor, because he's not much of a father or a daddy. So, but I would have rather him spent time with my son than paying. Man, that brother was paying that brother was paying $5 like a month, and I was like, oh, that's not even the McDonald's meal. And then it went to 20, but then as time developed, I said, you know what? Let me try to figure out, because he didn't know how to be a dad, but I didn't know how to be a mom. Like, I was learning as time was going along.
And I think it's naturally,
it's your experience. It's what you have grew up knowing or seeing, or like my mom always used to tell me, like, ain't nobody teach me how to be a mama. And I'm like, tell me about it, but the thing about it was I tried to get on his level. Like, how can I teach him? How can I groom him? Yeah. How can I groom him into being more a father figure? So I knew in high school he played basketball, right? And my son liked basketball. And so I was like, having conversations here and there. And I'm like, maybe you can coach him. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you can kind of show him some things, and maybe he'll pick up, because he was like, supposedly, so he says, I don't know, but because we didn't go to the same high school, but he was a great basketball star. So I was like, okay, well, maybe you can teach him. And that worked all of 3 times, but it was more than what I think it would have been had I just left it alone. Like, all right, you don't want to be a daddy? Okay. You only want to pay your $5 or $20 child support? Okay. But that wasn't enough for me. For me, when I found out who my real father was, that was important for me to have his support. That relationship was important to have that support, because I'm like, you can give my mama money all day. Why she ain't gonna give it to me?
Okay, so I actually want to jump on that right there about giving it to you. No, she didn't give it to you in your hand, but did you have food to eat?
Yeah.
Did you have lights? Did you have a bed to sleep in? And that's where I get upset about. Sometimes they're like, well, the child doesn't get it. But what happens is that support is supposed to be that there are 2 people that are involved in making sure that they have their needs, their basic needs.
Right.
And so it's not about Jordans.
Right.
It's not about, oh, well, I gave you this $100, so you went out and you should have went out and bought a pair of Jordans for them. Who cares about the Jordans?
You don't get to decide.
So they have Jordans in a box or in a garbage can out on the side of the road. So that's where I get kind of, I was a soapbox for me for a minute. But it's not about, okay, you can actually see the things. Well, yes, that does mean that the person that's taking care of the child, that they may get a touch of whatever it is that they're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
If they pay half the light bill, if it pays half the light bill,
right.
Well, yes, guess what?
That benefits the child.
It benefits the child, but it also benefits the mom. But guess what? That's the person that's custodial, taking care of the child anyway. So what are you doing? Are you taking care of the child?
That sounds like a bitter parent. Like,
well, I just want people. I think that people need to understand that that it's not about just here's this money and I need to be able to see it. Well, you should be able to see it. You know, if you visit them and go to their house and if you see that they're being taken care of.
If you're cordial, if you were careful who you lay down with.
Oh, Lord, let's not go there.
That's just a little something. Pastor Chris said, not throwing shade here, but that's how you know he about to throw shade. We say not throwing shade. That's not always the case. Parenting is trial and error. Sometimes support can be used as a weapon as well. And you are absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Support can be, well, if you don't come cupcake with me, you don't get to see little Johnny tomorrow. Oh, well, I guess I won't be seeing little Johnny tomorrow. I feel like that's another.
But I don't think that.
I think those are stipulations that
I think, but that doesn't make
imparted.
It. So that doesn't. I don't think that those things. Still, well, who gets hurt in the situation?
The child.
I think that's the bottom line.
Right.
The bottom line is who gets hurt in the situation.
Right.
And so the main thing that needs to be taken care of is the child.
Right. Absolutely.
The child needs. If it has to be that, okay, so here's a for instance, if all of those other things are taking place, it's not to take away the money from the child or take away the support from the child. It's to figuring out ways to make sure that child gets the things that they need. If you got to have a direct payment to the electric company, then have a direct payment to the electric company.
Right.
Or I don't know. There are ways that you can figure that out, because in the court of law, if one person is doing what they're supposed to do, the other person has to abide by that. And if they don't, you go back to court. You have to go back to court.
I think it just used to baffle me. I think it just really used to baffle me, like how many parents, whether it be mother or father, would rather give away whatever money, whatever finances, and not even spend time with the child, not even get to know the child,
and that's sad.
Not know the child's favorite color, favorite food, or any of that. But you cannot. Not everybody was meant to be a parent. I was just watching a movie yesterday.
So they shouldn't have.
Well, it was good though. But
what I'm saying is that we as people should take responsibility for what we do. We have to take responsibility.
Mature people.
Well, then they shouldn't be having sex.
But
I'm just gonna say what I'm saying is that doesn't make it okay.
Yeah, absolutely, it doesn't make it okay. Mm-hmm. I think that at the end of the day, like, this is just for me. This is my opinion. Like, I feel like supporting the child is more meaningful than financial gain, because at the end, whether you're paying the light bill or buying a pair of Jordans, or buying groceries, like, I'm more interested in, like, the parents spending time with the kids and learning and growing the kids. Shanice said, "Good morning, beautiful ladies. What about emotionally support? I get the financial support, but there is also emotional."
Yes, that's what we talked about in the beginning. We talked about how there should be emotional support as well. It's a whole thing.
Right.
You have to do the whole child,
but comforting.
But I think that the emphasis is always on the money, and so people get caught up with the money, and then that's the reason why they don't think about the emotional thing, is because they're so caught up with, they're getting this part of my check, or they're getting this, they're getting that, and it's not just about the check.
And no worries, Shanice. We know you. But that's the thing with people who are with people who are not mindful of that portion of supporting the child, because the child would rather you pull up. Like at the end of the day, the child would rather you come and support them in person rather than, okay, what can I give you? What can I do to get rid of you? That's the thing.
Right.
I think a lot of parents, or not, I don't want to say a lot, but a lot that I know, okay, I can speak personally, a lot of the parents that I know that are paying child support is more so like, how can I get rid of you? More so than how can I learn you and grow and develop. Yeah.
So I think what gets caught up is the emotions of the parents. And I will tell you that I actually I actually want to say that one of the couples that are actually not couples, I'm actually speaking to one of the parents, and that was a question, and that's a thought that they were talking about, and I said, here's my piece of that, is that I said that maybe they don't know how to get along, and maybe that their own emotional stuff between one another is an issue, and it's hard to get past that, but they need to get some help in how to co-parent. Right. And you know what? If they learn how to co-parent, the issue of child support doesn't become the number one, child support, financial child support doesn't become the number one thing. It becomes this partnership in taking care of the child. So it's called parenting. What?
Listen.
It's not called being married and not called being divorced. Right. It's called parenting.
Right. And you know what? In my research, I saw that Massachusetts has the highest child support rate. I don't know, like, what's going on in Massachusetts that they have the highest child support rate. If you're trying to get that high, no, let me stop. But what's
you
more
mean
important?
As far as how much money they get?
How much they pay, the percentage. But and then I wrote down what's more important or equal. So I know in some of the research, parenting classes, like for some of those, I'm not banging on the dads, but I have to like acknowledge from my upbringing and from what I've experienced, it's the dads, it's like, well, if you don't know how to be a parent, take a parenting class. Not saying that it's like the all that be all.
And not necessarily a mandated parenting class.
Willingly,
a mandated parenting class. There's a lot of mandated. We go to CPS and all of them. There's mandated parenting classes, but usually those are just to check a box. Right. But you learn something in yourself. Yes, you could possibly learn something from them, but actually go to something that's actually going to be beneficial. And parenting actually is, because you're separated, the two of you need to be able to communicate about how that's going to work out. You can't just one person be over here and make decisions and do this thing, and then this person over here doing another thing. Well, what's going to happen is those two people are not doing the same things, and that's where the button heads come from. Well, you need to pay more of this. Well, I didn't tell you to move into that 22,000 square foot house. And it's just, but those things don't come up if you are actually communicating and doing something together, and then both parents actually know that whatever they're doing is for the benefit of the child.
I think that, and I don't want to get on the dads, because there are some great dads out there. Don't get me wrong. There are some custodial dads. I know a
really
few.
Participate.
I know a few. But and they are the main provider, the main supporter of the child. I think that even joining like a parenting group, like other parents, we did that a lot when we were in Washington. We were part of a few different groups, because once you get in the midst of other people who may be experiencing what you're experiencing, or possibly struggling with what you're struggling, it's so much easier and it's so much better and enhancing, to understand, like, okay, oh, you're dealing with that too? I'm not the only one? Oh, okay. And it becomes relatable. And then you're able to support, the child better. We got the chats is on fire. So Pastor Chris said growth in stats show that as the child grows older, the child wants more of the parent than the money. Absolutely. But again, there has to be a balance.
You're right.
And then Ms. Shanice said, what a lot of parents don't know the effects that it brings to the child when one parent is not around, and show love for that child. Yeah, because then you feel abandoned. you feel abandoned. You feel like, oh, you don't love me?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to pull up for me?
Right.
Like, what did I do? What's wrong with me?
What are the things that happens when people feel abandonment?
Then they go searching. They looking for love in all the wrong places.
That song.
That is a song.
Yes, that is a song. They look for love and all. They look for those things, and usually
gangs, of course. Like, but homie showed me love. I had to go pull up. It's
we choose something negative.
Legally.
You're right. Legally. A lot of times we actually end up choosing something negative.
Right.
But sometimes, if you're I want to say blessed enough, but that's not the way you say it. If you fall into a situation where, like for instance, a lot of times a son will be looking for that male figure in their life because the mom's is the one that's usually taking care of them,
right.
And they find a mom. I mean, they find a mentor,
a mom figure, or
they find
figure.
a mentor that actually fulfills that for them. I know. There have been young men that they didn't know how to work. They didn't know how to do this. They're raised by their mom. Their mom didn't know how to make them or help them.
And moms, he ain't your man.
No,
he's not your son.
He's not your man. He's your
not
son.
Your man.
And so and then there's the man that comes in and shows them how to work and shows them how to cut the grass or to fix something or to be the strong person. And do that for themselves to be a man. And so they get that from somebody else. So that's a positive situation, where that can happen. But what would be better than their own biological parents if they have the ability to, if they have the ability to, because I know some people die, and so.
I like what Miss Tammy said, and the effects of that is they become damaged adults.
You're absolutely correct.
Right. Hurt people is what they say, and it's unfortunate.
They keep me employed.
Lord,
keep me employed.
Pastor Chris said it's like a ransom to see the child in some cases. Absolutely, and the cycle continues of not knowing how to parent. Right, and you're absolutely right. The cycle continues, and then that child learns that my daddy was not there or my mom was not there, so then I don't have to expect that. I don't have to, and it's difficult, and it's all, man, we can go in so many different routes with that.
So we have to, the person, rather than, I understand that, but rather than us complain about it, what happened to us in our past, we have to stop. We have to stop the cycle. Right. We have the control to stop the cycle. We have the control to say, you know what? I don't want to continue this on and on and on. What am I going to do to stop this cycle? Mm-hmm. What am I going to do to make this better? And that goes back to the parenting classes again, or getting individual help. Maybe you don't want to tell your business to a whole group of people.
Right.
Get some help.
Yeah.
Seek counsel.
Right.
Go talk to someone about, what are some things that I can do that will make my life better? Not to add on more things that I have to do, but to help me to come up with a way to alter my life. It's going to be more of a positive thing.
That made me think. Find a parent that you look up to.
Yeah.
Right? Find a parent that you admire. A mentor parent, right? Mm-hmm. That's a dope idea.
Yeah,
because
dope idea.
It's like that. Find someone who you see they're out there with their kids, or they're supporting, or they're pulling. And
what do they do?
Right? How does that balance work? And it doesn't always have to be like a husband or a wife. It could just be, someone from the school or someone from the church or
what
wherever.
We used to do way back in the day.
Neighbors,
not necessarily neighbors, but your grandmother.
Oh yeah,
what I'm saying.
You're still blessed to still have.
Right. So it's going back to, even if they did mess up, even if they did, because they have the wisdom.
Yep.
They have the wisdom of what happened. They can give better wisdom to say, hey, this is what we did and that didn't work.
As long as it's good, and y'all know right from wrong. But anyway,
good advice.
We'll tune in next week. We have a thought for the week. Support your children. That's that's the biggest thing.
The bottom line is the child.
Yes.
That's the quote for the day. The bottom line is the child.
Yes, absolutely. So you've now tuned into Conversations with
Jo
and Jay. We hope y'all have a blessed day. Good rest of the week. Happy hump day. And we'll see you all next Wednesday. Deuces.
Oh. I gotta get this off too.
Bye, Instagram. Good morning.
Good morning.
You have now tuned in to Conversations with
Jo
and Jay.
Right now on TPV Radio.